Cellar Dive, episode number 22 of
Brutal Battle.
It has been a bit since we've done a Cellar Dive, but we still have a good amount of beer in our cellar. So Rebecca picked one, I picked one, and it's an interesting difference in how we picked. Rebecca picked a beer that is cellarable, but hasn't really been cellared. I picked a beer that has been cellared for quite some time. We're going to start with mine first because I think that mine is not going to be as great, most likely, based off our experience with beers like this and this level of age. Then we'll leave hers for second because I really do think that hers is going to be even better. So, anyway, mine is in a 22-ounce bottle. It is by Deschutes Brewery out of Bend, Oregon, and it is their Mirror 2014 Reserve. So this has been aging in the bottle for 8 years now, which is a significant amount of time. It is 11.2% alcohol, and it's a barley wine ale with 50% aged in wine barrels. I'm assuming probably red wine barrels, because usually that's what is done with darker beers. So typically what we've experienced with any sort of barrel-aged beer that we age for a long time, including 8 years at this point, we usually get the wood starting to dominate from the barrel, so I'm expecting that we'll get that. I think it'll start to taste a little muddy and woody. Okay. But we'll see. You know, maybe we'll be surprised and it'll be different. This is actually waxed.
Have you ever had this beer fresh?
Yes, some time ago. I actually think that it may have been on a one of our tournament episodes from years back. Maybe even in 2014, actually. So, yes, when this beer first came out, we were doing the podcast. I mean, Rebecca wasn't involved in the capacity that she is today, but, you know. All right, so got it open. The great thing is, since it was waxed, shouldn't be any sort of oxidation issues. I'm not going to pour in. Is that good for you? Want a little more?
That's fine.
I don't want to pour in too much since it's a higher ABV and, you know, we're going to be moving on after that. Okay, so let's go. And if you feel like you need a little bit more for tasting purposes, just let me know. I'll put some more in there. It's very brown and cloudy.
Yeah.
It's got like a slight orangish tinge to it.
Yeah, like a little amber.
Yeah, I could see that. A little bit of head hanging out on top. A few larger bubbles on there. So, actually a little bit of carbonation. I was expecting a lot less. Smell?
Very woody.
It smells very sweet, too.
Yeah.
It's like marmalade and honey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting smell.
Maybe molasses?
Yeah, I could definitely see a molasses note in there. Yeah, it's very molasses, marmalade, honey, wood.
It does smell kind of like murky, though.
It's got a fruity quality to it other than the marmalade that I guess is what's being imparted by that wine barrel. The actual, like, wine part of it. It doesn't smell bad, but it doesn't smell great.
Yeah.
We'll have to see where it ends up.
Like, all the notes aren't, like, in harmony.
Yeah. I will tell you what this does remind me of, nose-wise a bit, is a well-aged Dogfish Head 120-minute IPA. Like, that basically turns into, like, a really nice kind of sweet barley wine after it gets aged for a significant amount of time. I do recommend that. If it tastes the way it smells, it might actually be pretty solid, but going in.
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Oh, it's,
You probably like it.
It's still pretty barley wine.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely get a decent amount of barley wine aspect.
I'm not, like, big into barley wine, so this isn't, like, doing it for me, but I can appreciate that it's kind of held up.
There's a lot of wood on the finish. It's like that, like, sweet marmalade and molasses and barley wine type maltiness up front, and then it finishes with a good bitterness that's rolling in with that, like, really heightened perception of the wood from the wine barrels. Like I was saying in the nose, like, it's still getting that kind of, like, little grapey fruitiness from the wine barrel.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it either. It's pretty sweet.
It is sweet.
But it's got this bit of, like, a zing to it as well from, like, that marmalade aspect of it that's showing up. It's also got a little bit of a raisin note showing up as well because it's higher ABV.
I definitely perceive the booze. It's boozy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's another thing that ends up happening with aging these, higher ABV beers. The alcohol is hidden less well over time. Yeah. It starts to come out to the forefront. You get more of an astringency in the flavor. So it's just more perceptible alcohol-wise. But for being 8 years...
Not bad.
Yeah, it held up pretty well, really. Okay. That last sip I took is almost a little minty.
Minty?
It's got it's not a mint flavor, but that kind of menthol quality that you get in your mouth from mint stuff.
Like a burning?
No, it's not really a burning. It's more of a tingling. It's a bit of a soft tingle, kind of.
Okay.
And your beer, which I'm sure will taste way better.
We'll see. Because there's an element of this that we don't like.
Yes. Me in particular.
So this is by Elder Pine. And it is their barrel-aged Jupiter's cake. But it's fresh. So it just came out and I just bought it. I don't even know
and Elder Pine's Gaithersburg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so less than a year in the can. Less than a half a year in the can. Literally maybe a month or so.
Yeah, I don't even know. Maybe less than that. So it is an imperial stout with maple syrup, chocolate, Brazilian coffee, and Tahitian vanilla, and it's aged in rye whiskey barrels for 12 months, and it's 12.5%.
I'll tell you what makes me hopeful on the maple front. The coffee could really downplay that maple, which I'm hoping is the case. So this is one that Rebecca went in and just bought it.
I went in and just bought that one beer.
Which is a weird, it's a weird thing for us to do that. It's kind of crazy.
I stayed focused.
I feel like it's crazy to me that this ended up having a higher ABV to it than mine.
Yeah.
Because, you picked it out, you were like, oh, I want the Jupiter's cake. And I was just like, I looked through the cellar and was like, oh, dude, this mirror. I'm like, oh, mine's probably going to be higher ABV. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, nope, the Jupiter's cake is actually... looks like
it's a stout. It's
an
dark.
imperial stout.
Yeah.
It was pretty motor oily on its way out of the can, so pretty viscous. And if you swirl that up, it stays brown on the side of the glass because of how slow the liquid's coming down the glass, because of the viscosity being higher because of that higher ABV. Yeah. Ooh, it does smell really nice.
It's very chocolate. I'm getting a lot of chocolate.
There is a lot of chocolate. I'm getting a good amount of that coffee, and it doesn't smell like it's super roasted coffee. It's like a green younger coffee, which I love that scent in beers when they use coffee. Ooh, that coffee's coming through in a great way.
Are you getting maple syrup? I'm not.
It's so slight. It's showing...
I'm just getting a sweetness.
Right.
That could be coming from a lot of different things.
Yeah. I was going to say it's showing up as this kind of vague maple sweetness, but it's kind of getting lost in that chocolatey sweetness as well, which is a good sign for me, because hopefully I'm not... I mean, in a perfect world, I perceive no maple in the flavor of this, but...
I'm getting the vanilla, too.
Yeah, I see the vanilla. That rye whiskey, you can tell that it's rye whiskey, not bourbon, that's the barrel for it. And there is a woodiness. There's definitely a woodiness on the nose, too.
I'm thinking this is going to be better when it warms up.
It's a little sharp.
Yeah.
I'm
a little disappointed.
It's very booze-driven.
I was just going to say the opposite.
What?
I'm not perceiving the alcohol.
You're not perceiving... So to me...
Not for 12%.
Okay, first of all, the viscosity, it seems thin.
It's very thin.
It's tasting thin. It looks thick, but it tastes thin, which is a weird thing. I'm getting a lot of the spirit. I'm personally getting a good amount of astringency. I know you were saying that you weren't really perceiving it as much, but I'm getting that. The strongest flavor that's presenting to me is coffee.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm down with the coffee, but I'm not getting a whole lot of the other stuff right now.
Yeah, I'll be interested. This hasn't been warming up all that long.
No, maybe
10 minutes.
15 minutes. Well, because we've been recording too, so actually about 20 at this point, potentially.
It still tastes really cold.
Here, do this. Like, do what I'm doing. Just, like, hold what's left and kind of, like, you know, just swirl it. Like, your hands will kind of, like, warm it up a little bit and swirl it around. But, and in the meantime, we can talk about, I mean, obviously, this is one that Rebecca wanted to get because Elder Pine is, as we've said numerous times, like, our second favorite brewery in Maryland. Also, they have a non-barrel age version. I don't know if you said that or not, but they have a non-barrel age version, which I'd be very interested to see what that is like. Okay, now. It definitely has warmed up now.
Yeah.
I got it warmed up with my hands. It's still tasting similar. I'm getting a little more chocolatiness to it showing up, but I think the barrel aging kind of killed this beer, in my opinion. I think, how many months did they say?
12.
I think it was too much. I think they should have pulled it a lot sooner,
maybe,
in my opinion. Because it just seems like it's been wrecked by the rye and the woodiness. There's a good woodiness showing up in it as well, and it's just kind of dominating everything.
Yeah, it's not as... I'm not getting all the flavors that I want to get. It's just kind of one note.
Yeah, I'm not liking it, really, unfortunately.
So you like your beer better than mine?
Here's the good news. I don't taste maple.
Right, that's true. You don't get a lot.
And I just taste like a little bit of dark chocolate, a lot of the actual rye and a bunch of wood. Getting a little bit of vanilla, though. The aftertaste is good. If you just kind of like leave...
Yeah, I don't dislike it. I'm debating if I want to keep drinking more. I think I do.
I'm not big on it. I actually did like mine more, to be honest.
Okay.
I think the Mirror is better in this instance. This is a rare instance for us where we didn't love a Elder Pine beer.
Yeah. That is very weird for us.
It
happens, so.
It's bound to happen. But like I was saying, like, the aftertaste on this is really good. Like, when I'm not taking sips of it and I'm just sitting there, because, like, flavor just kind of lingers on your palate. Like, that's really nice. Yeah. Like, that's very coffee and chocolate, and it's kind of like a little bit of the vanilla is being boosted from just sitting in the mouth. I like that. So if I could get that when I'm actually sipping it, so for, through, like, the entire taste of it, that would be nice. Yeah. But, I don't know. So, you like yours more than mine?
I think so, just a little bit more. I'm not real big into... I can appreciate that it held up, but I'm not big into barley wines.
Yeah, I got that. Makes sense. It's all good. It's real bitter now, too. Yeah. Like, that Jupiter's cake is getting more bitter as I continue to drink it, and the bitterness is tasting like bad coffee. You know what I mean? Like, really dark, kind of like burnt, bad coffee. I don't know. Just not loving it. Did want to love it.
Yeah, I really wanted to love it.
It's unfortunate. It makes me wonder what the regular beer is. Like, the non-barrel aged version makes me wonder what that would have been like. I did have high hopes for this, but, yeah, didn't really pan out great. Boo. Oh, well, we have some other Elder Pine beers from our 4th anniversary pack still that we need to get into. And you know what? Maybe we will later tonight. I don't know. We'll see. If you want to know, though, you can be our friends on Untapped. You like how I rolled into that? Yeah. I'm Carlton Malibu, all one word, spelled like it sounds. You are?
Ruby Reb 62. You
just want to hit the Instagram?
Yeah, Brutal Battle Podcast.
You can email us, brutalbattlepodcast@gmail.com, if you want to give us, like, ideas for episodes, beers you want to hear about, if you just want to say hi, if you just want to have a beer conversation over email, we can do that. Do us a favor, though, rate us and review us through whatever podcatcher you use. iTunes is the most helpful. It'll help, get our rating up and more people might check us out. Also, word of mouth is wonderful if you tell people about the podcast. Because we've been doing this for over 10 years now. Yeah. It's almost 11 years that we've been doing this, which is pretty insane. Still plugging away. Actually, still having fun. Yeah. I think a lot of the fun is because we've changed formats. Like, we have so many different formats now that it's kind of like, what do we feel like doing now? And, like, that keeps it fun, because you don't feel, like, pigeonholed into anything. So, yeah. But, what else? You want back episodes? Go to brutalbattle.com. There are all the pictures there, just like on Instagram, of the beers. And archive.org has back episodes as well, because, unfortunately, stuff like iTunes will only keep, like, the last 50 episodes. But thank you, everyone, for listening. I think next we may be doing some... I want to go back to doing a bunch of mystery beers episodes. Let's do that. Let's do a bunch of mystery beers, going back to what we like to do. Let's have a good stint of those. Okay. I love that. I love seeing if we can get things right. But
yeah.
Regardless, thanks, everyone, for listening to this. And until next time,
keep it brutal.
I feel so